Well, we've got 10 already, which is amazing. I am going to go ahead and get started. And we are at this time of the day and this angle of the sun that the lighting could be better. So I apologize for that. Let me say a quick hello to everybody. My name is Karen Stolberg, and I'm the director of the HILS Online program. I'm faculty in the Department of Learning Health Sciences, as well as obstetrics and gynecology here at the University of Michigan. Angie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, yes. Thanks, Dr. Stolberg. My name is Angie Sullivan. I'm the program manager for the online HILS degree program.
Wonderful. And then Catherine, would you introduce yourself as well?
Sure, I'm Catherine, and I just completed my master's degree in the HILS Not Online program, but as it turned out, a lot of it was because of COVID.
Yeah, right. We had that advantage, and congratulations. So Catherine is here to help answer any questions and just provide another perspective on the degree program. Hopefully you see that by having a student here, we highly value our students and their perspectives and want to make sure that those voices are included. So of course, I've got a PowerPoint presentation, which I'm going to share. I think, there we go. Double checking, did it share or no?
It's getting ready to. Nope, I didn't share yet.
No, it's okay. You know, I love Google. Not really, because I end up having, there we go. Are we sharing yet?
Not yet.
Angie's like,
you almost had it the last time.
I know, but it wouldn't open because it was on the wrong Google account. I know that sounds crazy.
It happens to me too. There you go.
Yay.
Yay.
Perfect.
Fun with technology. So hopefully you are all in the right place to learn about how we're going to lead change and transform health by creating experts in health infrastructures and learning systems through this master's degree that is online, first of its kind in the medical school, first of its kind in the nation, really, because no one has a HILS degree. And so the reason why it's so unique is because we have a joint emphasis on not only information and social science to improve the health of individuals and populations, but we also think about the ethics of data, the application of data, and the right use, in all honesty. So the goal is for graduates to develop as a leader and as a professional in learning health systems and implementation science. So folks who graduate from this program are going to create innovative solutions to address some of the most demanding healthcare challenges. And I know that Catherine will be able to speak to some of that as we go. What's really nice about this degree program is there's flexibility to complete the online degree in 1 year, either as a full-time student or in 2 to 3 years as a part-time student. And the other piece that's really nice is that with only a few in-person institutes here on the Ann Arbor campus, you can continue your current work, your current locations without having to move to go to school. So this map keeps increasing as we go. The program is about 6 years old and primarily started as a PhD program with master's students and now is expanding to the online space. So we have a number of folks from the continental United States as well as overseas. Because of a variety of regulations and rules, the online degree program is only available here in the United States, so we aren't able to admit online learners. International learners, and we can talk more about that later. The educational backgrounds for our HILS students is really varied, and that's because the content of the degree is so diverse, really. So we have health sciences, health professionals, folks who have expertise in information and computing, engineering, and most importantly, behavioral and social sciences, as well as organizational and policy sciences, so that we can think about implementing change at regional or local or state level as well. So when we talk about a learning health system, these systems actually go through these active learning cycles. And you'll get to know this loop really well. But what happens is that we have the formation of a learning community around some sort of health problem of interest. So we have studies going on around out of hospital cardiac arrest. We have thoughts about opioid addiction. There are folks doing research around operating room procedures. And so learning from what people are doing in that current environment, taking the data and understanding it and learning more about it, and then saying, okay, where are the gaps? Where are the opportunities for improvement? And then how can we implement that and reevaluate the cycle again? Now you can imagine that these learning cycles, while they seem great on the surface, they also require infrastructure, meaning a simple, easy way to make these routine. And so that's the other piece that the health infrastructures and learning systems degree focuses on. So we think about all the different places and spaces where you can use healthcare data for decision-making, using, as I talked about before, policy and ethics for data use, using shared knowledge for improvement, as well as implementation science and technology promoted change. So what you'll see in these gray bubbles over here are just different ways to think about how these loops get operationalized. Policies, technologies. Let me go back one more. Oh dear, fail, epic fail, my apologies. You know what happened? The other thing that happened too, can you guys see now? Hang on, it's thinking. The other thing that is happening in the background that you're not aware of is that the hospital is trying to call me and I'm trying to ignore them. So I apologize for that. I can't lie. So anyway, so policies, technology, making knowledgeable, actionable, and shareable. How do we promote behavior change, etc. So nuts and bolts of the degree program. It's a Master's of Science degree completed in 27 credit hours, which is including the required classes, as well as completing a learning cycle project. So the courses are structured to be asynchronous learning opportunities with synchronous options for class projects, mentoring, meeting with the faculty, meeting with your cohort, other members of folks in your class. So all of the content is delivered through the Canvas learning management system. And each course is set up a little bit differently, but some have lectures that you watch. Some have outside resources, videos, readings that you read to gather the information. But all of the courses have an active learning component where you interact with the instructors, you interact with your colleagues, and you apply the information that you're learning to kind of make it stick. The expectation is that you will spend about 15 to 20 hours per week on your course. And so just to give you a sense of that in terms of having a real job and also a school job, as it were. So from the learning cycle project, we think about, well, fall term, we do the implementation science in health. And that it really helps you develop and consider, what do I want to do for a learning health project, learning cycle project. The winter term is when we refine and get the proposal going. Spring, summer is when we have you enroll in this learning cycle capstone course where your project gets executed and that you have the opportunity to reflect on those experiences. So if you're a full-time student, that can go pretty fast, but then you're done in that 1-year time frame. If you decide to go part-time so that you can work and continue to learn, there's a little bit more wiggle room built in, if you will. So this is what the 1-year plan looks like. You'd be taking 12 credit hours in the fall semester, as well as 12 credit hours in our winter semester. And then the spring summer combined semester is basically from about May to the beginning of August. There are 3 days during those semesters when you would come in to Ann Arbor to be on campus. And you can see there the goals of your projects, getting IRB approval, meeting with your mentors, etc. If you did a 2-year plan, then you could do 6 credits in those semesters and kind of lengthen things out a little bit. Right now, we've got it written with specific numbers of courses to take, but this is actually really variable because the courses are not dependent on sequencing. While they're only offered once per year, in a semester, you can mix and match the order, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. So the different types of courses, because folks are like, well, what would I be learning? And so we think about health infrastructures and policies. We have a pro seminar that is really all about where is the data, where is the infrastructure, how do health information exchanges work, what are the components of a learning health system. We also talk about ethics and policy for learning. And then once you have ideas about how you want to implement change, there is a true science behind that and how that works for you to affect change. And you learn all about that in 621. We have a data science component, of course. I would be remiss if I didn't mention our data scientists. So there's exploratory data analysis for health. There's how do you represent that knowledge to the end user and help them act on that. So for instance, once a month, I get a report that's generated that gives me updates on best practices in some of the content for obstetrics. And we get updates on how well we are hitting those metrics in terms of giving pertussis vaccines, discussing contraception after babies are born for mom. And so all of that is automated and helps us think about right patient care and making sure that we're doing the recommended evidence-based practice. Also would be remiss if we didn't talk about research methods. While we don't necessarily expect folks to go on to a PhD, there are some folks who will go on to a PhD, or being able to use advanced evaluation and research methods actually really helps to make the work that you're doing every day move forward in a dissemination phase and really a thoughtful way. So our students are going to walk away here being able to improve quality and safety and improve and promote learning within health systems. And we really view our graduates as people who are going to be improvement and implementation leaders in making healthcare better. Our on-campus institutes really are a way to connect in real time with your colleagues. They're also a way to apply and move the information that you're using forward. We also want to make sure that you have the opportunity to meet with the faculty and learn some new skills. And also we like to be social. So I know you're like, what's that? But actually this past onboarding session that we had was really great because we were able to have the HILS students together in a safe environment, masked, etc. And then we were actually also able to have an outdoor picnic and see folks that we haven't seen together in 18 months. And that was really a nice opportunity for just catching up with everyone, really. All right, Angie, I always miss this handoff, but I think
You have one. This is your slide. I'm next.
This is still my slide. I knew it. So basically, like I said, we're looking at healthcare innovators, quality improvement experts, folks who are already leading by learning informatics and developing data in their own environment. How might you analyze it? How might you understand it better to affect change? And because this honestly is such a new degree and a new domain, we don't even know yet how people are going to succeed with this type of degree because there may not even be those types of careers yet created. Now I'm going to hand it off to Angie.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Selberg. So I'm going to cover a few of the student services sides of things. So to begin with, advising. Students are paired with a faculty advisor who plans to have live office hours. Typically, those will be via Zoom, or they can be contacted via email. And I did want to note, you're going to be taught and mentored by the same faculty who teach the residential program. And then you'll also have easy access to me as a program manager through email. I'll do individual, we'll do group Zoom meetings, which are actually starting tomorrow night. And the HILS online community page and Canvas. So there's a variety of ways for you to get in touch with myself or Dr. Stahlberg. And the one thing I did want to point out is that even though this is an online program, you're supported by real people such as myself, Dr. Stahlberg, and the other faculty. And we truly want to give you a full learning experience as a Michigan student to ensure that you become part of the community. So being a student in our online program, you'll have access to an abundant variety of student support services, as you'll see here, such as the Rackham Graduate School, which has student communities such as students with children, students with disabilities, LGBTQ+ students, health and well-being resources. There's the Office of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies, and this overlaps somewhat with what Rackham offers for resources such as health and wellness, diversity, equity, and inclusion resources. And then you'll also have access to other university resources such as counseling and psychological services, Taubman Health Sciences Library, in addition to all the other libraries on campus, Students of Color of Rackham, and these are just to name a few. So this tuition information is based on the 2021-2022 academic year. But please note that tuition and fees often change each year. So again, these are based on this year. So here we have the online Masters in HILS tuition chart. And this is per credit hour. So, you know, Dr. Stahlberg mentioned some students will go part-time, some will go full-time up to 12 credits. So if you went part-time, for a Michigan resident for 6 credit hours at $7,301. As a non-Michigan non-resident, that would be $10,331. And in the next slide, I'm going to break it down for you a little bit further. There's also note that there's mandatory fees per semester, you know, registration fees, student government, and that's per semester, as I just mentioned, and that's $164.19. So on the next slide, we'll break it down for you. So if you were to complete this program in 1 year, this is what it would look like. So it's per semester. So that fall semester, $14,417, the second semester, $14,417. And then that spring summer term, it's $3,743 for an estimated total of $32,577. And then you want to incorporate those fees too. And then as a non-Michigan resident, that fall semester is $20,477. The winter semester is $20,477. And then that spring summer term is $5,258 plus fees for an estimated total of $46,212. And then some additional expenses that you'll want to consider are, you know, your usual study materials, high-speed internet services highly recommended. Computer equipment and software that's recommended is a webcam of 1080p, a RAM with 4 gigabytes, your microphone, your headphone, compatible browser. And then additional expenses will be travel expenses like Dr. Stahlberg mentioned, because you'll be required to attend those in-person institutes.
Epic fail again. It's really frustrating. I apologize.
No worries.
Well, you know, I like to get it right, and I feel bad when I don't. So let me try that again.
Okay.
Why can I not get the Zoom? No, I'm trying.
We were at application. There we go. Perfect. So the application requirements, a bachelor's degree with 1 statistics class, a personal and academic statement of purpose, resume, CV, transcripts, 3 letters of recommendation. And for these letters, you'll want to choose someone who knows you well and those that can provide an evaluation of your ability to perform and succeed at the graduate level. And often this might be someone who holds a position in a school or work that is above your own position, and at least 1 letter should be submitted by a past or current professor or an academic advisor. And wanted to note too that we no longer require the GRE. So now I'll review some tips for statements, starting with the academic statement. So this is where you'll want to discuss your primary research area of interest. You'll also want to reach out to potential advisors, 2 to 3 HILS faculty, to introduce yourself and discuss potential fit before completing the academic statement of purpose. And all those faculty profiles are on our website. And in that statement, you'll want to explain why you identified the potential advisors you did and the interactions you had with them. In addition, you'll want to describe your understanding of learning health systems and what interests you about them. Describe prior research experiences, courses, or projects that have prepared you for graduate study. And all this is covered on the application, so you don't need to remember it right now.
And then we will send these slides out.
Yes.
That's the next question, yeah.
Yes. So then your personal statement's different than your academic, and that is where you'll get the opportunity to explain how your background and life experiences, other opportunities or challenges motivated your decision to pursue a graduate degree at the University of Michigan. So this should be more of a discussion of your journey that has led to your decision to seek a graduate degree. And you just want to make sure that you do not repeat your academic statement of purpose. And we have some resources on learning health systems that I will send you in an email after this session, in addition to other information we discussed today. So to begin with, we have a couple of journal articles. This first one is the development of the Learning Health System Research Core Competencies. And this discusses how the core competencies of learning health systems were developed. Next is a journal article written by the chair of the department, Dr. Chuck Friedman, and then Josh Rubin, who's a program officer in our department. And that's titled Weaving Together a Healthcare Improvement Tapestry. Learning Health System brings together health IT data stakeholders to share knowledge and improve health. So you definitely want to be sure to check out that one. In addition, we have a website link to the Learning Health Systems Open Access Journal. And this is an open access journal that is freely available to read and download and to share. And then the last is the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality Learning Health Systems website, and that's AHRQ. And that's an agency that funds LHS researchers. So you can go there to learn about different types of research that is funded by the agency. Some application tips, proofread your statement carefully, ask a friend, colleague, a mentor to review it and pay attention to those typographical errors, grammar, punctuation, and overall clarity. So since we are a Rackham program, you'll apply through the Rackham Graduate School website and complete their online application. On the site, you can upload materials or you can send them to us if you need to. And we have 2 deadlines. So the first is February 1st, and that's for priority scholarships. And all applicants are eligible who meet the February 1 deadline. The scholarships are merit-based and candidates are reviewed holistically by our admissions committee. So all aspects of the application are taken into consideration. So in your application, feel free to include any information about any financial need that you might have. And then June 1 is the final deadline to apply. And then once we receive your application, we aim to notify applicants 6 to 8 weeks after we receive it. And transfer credit, at this time, we're not allowing credits to be transferred. However, if you've taken a course that is equivalent to a required course for the program, we may be able to review options for substitute electives or other options. And this is our contact information along with our website, and you can find a lot of information on the website. In addition, feel free to reach out to Dr. Stahlberg or myself at any time with questions. And at this time, we'd like to thank you for coming and open it up for questions.
Thank you, Angie. Before we do questions, I was hoping, Catherine, that maybe you could weigh in as well and talk about what, completing the degree meant for you, what you were thinking, anything we would have missed that you want to make sure we highlighted, and then we absolutely want to open for questions.
Sure, I'm happy to give a little bit of background on my impressions of the program. I was not a full-time student. I was a full-time employee. And so I was on it started out thinking that I would be on the 2-year plan, but I ended up on the 3-year plan. I tried to get in two classes per semester, except for those semesters where I was taking courses that for me, I knew in advance were going to be really difficult, not the least bit technically oriented. So the explorations in healthcare data, I can't, 610 anyway, was challenging for me. It wasn't challenging for other people, but it was very challenging for me. So that semester I took one class. I took one class on purpose. I think like any graduate program, you're going to get out of this what you put into it. And the HILS department makes it easy to put in what you want to put into it. The faculty is unbelievably supportive. The environment of mutual support from the faculty to the students and across all the students is equally amazing and a source of inspiration all the time. Most of the people who were in my cohort came in kind of knowing what they wanted to do for their summer project. I think there were 12 or 13 people in my cohort. I could be a little off on that. But I'm pretty sure that every single one of them changed their mind as to what their summer project was going to be for a variety of reasons. But the flexibility inherent in that with faculty saying, it's okay. It's not that you have to stick with your original plan. It's learning as you go along what it is that you really want to do and that is feasible to do in a particular amount of time and that makes sense to do in the context of your particular goals out there. I really can't speak highly enough of this department or of this course, this course of study. I took several classes outside of HILS, outside of the LHS, because I decided to go for the Precision Health Certificate as well. And for me to be able to go outside of the specific department and take things in health management policy and engineering classes and quality, just flat out quality improvement courses was tremendously valuable and enriching for me. I will also say that the first semester for me and everybody that I've known, and I've known now 3 cohorts coming into this program, the first semester is head spinning. It's like, I don't understand why I'm learning these things. I really don't know what I'm learning. I can't figure out how they all fit together. And the difference between my group and this online group is that we were all sitting in a classroom and could look around at each other's faces and see that nobody else had a clue what was going on either. And so right up front, people learn to, okay, back up. I don't understand what's going on here. Help. And so if you decide to take this program, I would really encourage you to form those relationships with other students so that you can either while you're both watching a video or find times to meet up, discuss what you're understanding, what you're not understanding. Rest assured that if you're not understanding things, probably the majority or certainly at least a few other people in class are equally confused, and the faculty is always happy to help out, always, without exception. And I will close by saying, I got to know people in other departments across the university as a result of other classes that I was taking. And in talking with some who were in other departments, and I'm not going to name them, I think that the HILS department might be a little unique in how remarkably supportive it is of students and how truly interested in your best outcomes the whole faculty is. It's a remarkable program, and it's in a remarkable situation between Rackham and the medical school, and it's a worthwhile program if you're interested in improving healthcare.
Oh, Catherine, thank you. Yeah, no, clearly, I hope you all can tell that this was totally unscripted. And so I'm really appreciative of your, honest connection. Before we open to questions, which I promise we will do, Catherine, can you say how you're going to be using your degree in the rest of your universe yet?
Not yet. I honestly don't know. I'm looking around evaluating a number of different options. My career has been spent in finding ways to apply healthcare data to business problems, and I'm probably going to stay in that. But I think I want to be in a healthcare system environment rather than on the vendor side of that equation. There are lots of opportunities to evaluate, and I honestly don't know yet what I'm going to do.
I mean, sometimes it's like being in Baskin Robbins 31 flavors, where it's just all kind of laid out before you. So we've got a few questions. Nancy, I know that you started about a question with, would my statistics class from my MBA be acceptable for the statistics requirement? And the answer is probably 100% yes. And we are also happy to review the course content that you took to make sure that the amount of statistics or mainly the topics that you need to have have been included. So for some folks who are coming back without a lot, with statistics a while ago, or approaching this from an area that may not have been statistics heavy, we do have other courses online that we recommend, or community college statistics courses that give people a good foundation so that they can activate their memory. I will share that about 10 years after I finished my residency, I actually went back to our School of Education here at Michigan and got a master's in higher ed. And I had to take the GRE, which was so painful. And however, though, I was surprised by how the volume of a cone was still somewhere buried in my neurons. And so my bet is that if it's been a little while since you've taken statistics and you do sort of a refresher, that it will come back to you, definitely. Angie, I noticed that you answered a question. Do you want to read that for us?
Yeah, that was actually the question that you brought up about the statistics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, well, let's open it up. Please feel free to unmute, and also feel free to, turn your camera on. Any other questions? Catherine, I'm guessing you'd be happy to answer direct questions as well. We have a question about how large is the typical cohort for the online program? Well, I will tell you that you all will be the second cohort that we will have for the online program. And so right now we have 7 students who are actively engaged in the first set of courses. We have created the online degree program with purposeful pedagogy so that while you are going through the content, you don't sit in class together. That doesn't mean that you don't actually have connections with both your faculty and other learners, because there's small group work within the courses. There's actually reading and reviewing discussion forums. There are opportunities to problem solve together. And so we have built in ways to connect. All of the faculty who are the same faculty who teach in the PhD program, and also the same faculty who teach in the residential MS program, have office hours, have discussion forums. They send emails back and forth, very responsive to any questions. They're the ones who are grading your submitted materials for the class, whether that's an essay or actual computer programs, that kind of thing. So we're hoping that we're going to get 10 to 15 learners for this coming cohort for fall 2022. Did I get my numbers right, Angie? Yeah, I've lost a number of years somehow in the last little bit, but that's the hope. The goal is not to admit 100 people and put people through like a degree mill. Like that's not what we're here for at all. So just want to make that clear. Other questions?
So you've been, this is Nancy, you've been doing this for 6 years. What are some of the types of workplaces that your graduates are currently working in with the healthcare?
Great question. So the main graduates that we have so far are PhD folks. And one is working at PCORI, which Angie, will you help me what PCORI stands for? It's PCORI.
I am not the one to answer that question. Catherine might have a better idea.
No, Google it real quick.
It's patient-centered outcomes research something.
Institute, your initiative, yes. So he is focused on patient care outcomes. PCORI is an organization that helps fund and direct options within sort of improvement opportunities. We have another PhD person who currently works in our operating rooms and is most likely, we hope, going to be thinking about how to engage our health system, looking at OR activity, efficiencies, safety, learning from best practices, that kind of thing. Angie, everybody's on the website in terms of what projects they've done.
Yeah, we have the 2 students, the master's students who are the consultants. And I am totally forgetting.
Yeah, no, they opened their own consulting firm to look at basically how to make health better. So one of them was already in the consulting business and came in to do healthcare, to understand the healthcare domain. And the other individual is actually a medical student and has an MD. And then they have opened this consulting firm. Catherine, I know you know, it's Vlasic, but it's the other way around.
Yeah, I shouldn't have that at my fingertips. I'm sorry, I don't remember.
It's Mike and yeah. So,
I think a couple of people have gone to work for an HIE, Tim Fletcher's HIE as well. Which is
health information exchange.
Yeah. And he specifically is in Michigan, but also has a company that does HIEs outside of the state of Michigan. So a few people have gone in that direction as well.
Yeah. And so let me make sure, because sometimes we get jargony and I don't. So when we talk about health information exchanges, many of you are familiar with your healthcare record and your health data that's in the electronic health record, and you can often access that through your portal. Well, as end users of that information, we also have health information exchange, so that if you're at one health system that uses a certain program, and then you get care at a different health system, that actually feeds into a universal database that then can be understood and accessed. So let's say I'm seeing someone in consultation who actually saw somebody at one of the hospitals on the west side of the state of Michigan. Then I actually would be able to access because of the information exchange. And that is the idea around infrastructure, which is how do we build these systems that automatically update the database every night, one of our faculty members actually thinks about, well, how do we label data, right? What's the data dictionary? So if I say tomato, everybody understands it as tomato and not potato, right? And what does that look like? So we can definitely get way into the weeds on a lot of fun projects because there's so much to think about, right? We have a whole course that thinks about the ethics of the use of data. Whose data is it? You know, who does it get sold to? Or does it not get sold? How is it tracked? How is it anonymized? How do you deal with minors who have, you know, so your adolescent medicine folks, where does that data go? Who owns that? So that's sort of what I meant by the other, like, we don't even know what job capabilities are there because we're building a workforce. Because if you really look at learning health systems, we're all working very hard to create a system where there's infrastructure, where things, you know, talk to one another, where we can coordinate care. So, you know, the health information exchanges are doing that, but boy, what if we could be able to quickly tell how many vaccines for COVID were in which counties, and if we needed to shift them quickly from one place to another. So crazy talk like that. Other questions or thoughts? So Angie will definitely be following up with additional information, the slides, some links to these degrees. And Lauren, I see your question, sorry that I didn't see it before, about the 15 to 20 hour course work per week. That we were thinking about full-time, but Catherine, you can tell us if we're way off.
It depends on the class. There are some classes, for me, the ethics class had a lot of reading. And so, I mean, it was many hours per week just for that. Probably overall 20 to 25, I think might be realistic if you're full-time. Part-time, you figure it out, right? Say, okay, well, I don't have a life anywhere. I'm just going to study when I must. There was one thing that I wanted to throw in. You've talked a lot about the clinical and operational aspects of what health learning systems are about. Another area that I mentioned, my background is in healthcare information and using data to make healthcare better. And so for me, being able to take a course, I'm never going to be the person doing the coding, but be able to take a course in natural language processing, being able to get my feet really wet with taxonomies and vocabularies in terms of trying to figure out how do you come to a place of beginning to standardize words across healthcare was fascinating for me. And it's also a very thorny problem that I would love to be able to be involved in resolving. So that, and Sales had mentioned to me that actually there were several people who were more interested in a data direction and the technology area, IT area, than in necessarily the clinical and operational aspects. And by many, she probably meant 2 or 3 other people. But it is another avenue that's definitely relevant to the LHS.
Yeah, and you know, in all honesty, in this current cohort, for our inaugural cohort, we actually have a variety of folks. One who is employed by a company that oversees electronic health record instances for federally qualified healthcare offices. We have folks who are actually interested in sort of gap year, right? I think I'm going to go to medical school and I want to learn more so that I can take both this expertise and the expertise that I get from a professions education and move it forward. We have a couple of folks from pharmacy, so the pharmaceutical industry, as well as someone who recently completed a Doctor of Pharmacy degree, again, to just put another lens on healthcare delivery and improvement. And you know, these folks are thinking about drug access, utilization, development, data to inform medication choices, that kind of thing. So, you know, I'm starting to see more and more activity around decision support for diagnoses, or neural networks to understand how data is collected. So visual data, whether that's radiology reports, histology or cytology reports, and how some of that can be automated and improved. So lots of options.
Hi, this is Annette. I was wondering how long each semester is, and I'm kind of thinking maybe a part-time three-year time frame. Would it still be necessary to more than likely take 2 classes at a time to get done in 3 years?
Yeah, so the semesters are generally determined by the region, so we don't have any control over that. But the fall semester generally goes from the end of August, beginning of September into mid-December. And then the winter is the beginning of January to basically beginning of May-ish. Of course, there's vacations and whatnot built in there. In our design, the courses are about 14 weeks long, if you consider it that way. And then the combined spring summer semester is half that, so 7 weeks from, you know, May to early August. Mm-hmm.
And to respond to the other half of that question, I'm pretty sure that you would not have to do more than 2 classes per semester if you're going 3 years. I was trying to do some quick arithmetic and I'm not writing that fast, but it's 27 total hours. And over the course of 3 years, I don't think you'd have to go more than two classes per semester. If it became necessary to do that, though, I would recommend talking with Angie or Dr. Selberg, somebody in the department to figure out what's going to make the best sense for putting together classes, because there are some that just work really well together. There are some that I would say don't even dream about doubling up on that class because there's just too much work with that one. But you can get help on that to figure out how you could accomplish it. Yeah,
absolutely. And we'd also, you know, we really are trying to encourage people to do the 1 year or 2 year program. We understand that, you know, many things happen. The weird thing about math, in all honesty, is that the longer it takes you to complete your degree, the higher the cost is actually going to be, because the regents will change the tuition structures year to year. And so that can, right, sometimes it's this balance between cost of time and cost of money. So we're happy to have discussions with anyone about what looks best for people. Absolutely. That's the nice thing about, you know, being flexible, is that we can figure it out.
Yeah, and I was going to mention that spring summer term is just a one-time option there. So, and then also working really closely with your faculty advisor is really important. They can help you with content of the course and course load.
Well, wonderful. I want to be cognizant of everyone's time on a late Monday afternoon. And so I want to thank you all very much for attending this session. We're going to get the recordings out, as well as the content and some other links. Please, if you have any questions or follow-up, make sure to reach out to Angie or myself. I really, really want to thank Catherine Irwin for being here to share her experiences about being a master's student, and to once again congratulate you on completing the program. So.
In 3 years.
It's true. Yes, definitely.
Yes, it did cost me. But hey.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thanks again, everyone, for your time. We look forward to hearing from you. And if you have any additional questions, let us know.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.